Welcome to the channel. This week I'll be tackling this big empty wall in our master bedroom, soulless empty canvas. So the plan here is to turn this into this. A fireplace doesn't just warm the room, it beckons you closer, wraps you in a glow, and whispers, "Stay a while." A timeless refuge away from the world's clamor. All right, that's enough of that. Grab a coffee or a cocktail and strap in, because this one's a doozy. I don't know what I'm doing. That's $30 in the trash. I cut it backwards. I'm an idiot. So we built this house about 20 years ago. Our master bedroom is a fairly big space, but it's always been kind of a neglected area. So we recently got our kids sleeping in their own beds. It's time to create a place where we can relax, recharge, and escape all the skibbity, alpha, sigma, riz on the other side of the house. Let's do it. This video is the third video in a series of videos I'm doing on a complete rehab of our master bedroom, starting with the floors. On the first video, I did some custom built-in closets, and then I added a hidden closet door, if you want to check that out. So first order of business is to get rid of this nasty old carpet. I always check the clearance sections at Home Depot, and I was able to get a killer deal on this flooring. I did the whole room for under $300. I'm gonna leave an 1/8" gap for expansion. There's a motor on the dance floor. I'll sometimes use SketchUp when I'm trying to come up with a plan for something like this, but I'm not very efficient with it. So really, I'll take some graph paper, and that's usually my favorite way to come up with a plan to scale. There's something about drawing it on paper. These were a few of my inspiration photos that I based my ideas on. All right, this is what we got. So I'm gonna live with it for a day, see what the wifey thinks, and then go from there. Gives you a feel for how much it'll be sticking out into the room. It's gonna be pretty beefy. So this room is really dark. Our only light source is coming off the fan. So the plan here is to brighten this place up. So this light switch connects that plug. I'm gonna run to 2 pot lights so that we have more light. That way it'll illuminate the floating shelves. So I won't go into specifics of how I wired this as to not enrage all the electricians out there. Make sure you check and see if there's any studs, because I've made that mistake before. Now the fun part, going up in the attic. That was not fun. I had to crawl up all the way to almost the soffit of the house. And I'm so itchy right now. The nice thing about these lights is you can set the temperature, but they also have this low beam mode, which is pretty nice. All right, so I got my lights wired. I'm still not decided on how I want to do the fireplace yet. I know what I don't want is those boxy looking things that are in style right now, where it's just the TV above like a mantle. I want to go for more of like a realistic style kind of thing. I don't know, we'll see. I'm kind of making this up as I go. So I'm gonna start framing it. See where that takes me, and let's get it. I set up this little workspace outside, but I realized real quick that I'm way more efficient when I take it out to the shop. The hardest part about projects like this is taking this idea that I have in my head and trying to transform it into this physical thing. Creating this shop, even as small as it is, has really allowed me to scale up my projects. I have a full shop build on my channel if you're interested. I've been slowly accumulating tools and techniques over the years and getting better and better with each project. I really do hope these videos provide a little bit of motivation or even inspiration to try something yourself. So let's grab a couple 2x4s and do this. All right, so I'm kind of stuck here. Not really sure what the next step is. I know I want to have the fireplace inset a little bit so that it looks like you're looking into a fireplace, as opposed to just having the glass just flush with the wall. Got this laminated pine for the bench. So when I build my frame around it, I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap in case this thing ever breaks. I'll be able to replace it with something similar size and have a little bit of wiggle room. I really do enjoy this stage. It's a lot like putting Legos together to create this three-dimensional thing. This was a lot of rough framing. I definitely didn't have a plan, and I was building the plane in the air at this point. All right, I just had another epiphany. This is the benefit of building it as you go. I think I'm gonna put drawers, like drawers for shoes or something. I got all that space, it'd be perfect. I decided to give myself a little extra work and set the fireplace back. I really feel like the end result was totally worth it. This is gonna be for my drawer boxes. Going through all my scrap pile here to see if I have enough wood. Found this piece of melamine. I might use this as my drawer bottom. There you have it. It's my 10-minute drawer box. Nothing fancy, but get the job done. I like to give my drawer boxes a nice round over, and then I'll sand them with 220 and apply some linseed oil to get them nice and smooth. So I decided to kind of challenge myself on this project and try things that I've never done before. And I found this design that I really like. It's kind of a double miter fold mantel, like a contemporary look. I know a lot of people got mad at me last time I said it, but I really do consider myself a novice woodworker. This is gonna be quite a challenge to try to figure this out. Worst case scenario, I just waste a sheet of plywood. This was a very challenging build. There were a lot of weird angles and a lot of weird measurements, but I decided to give it a shot, see if I could do it. So the first thing I did was rip down my plywood into more manageable pieces before I do my miters. A lot of times this is where I struggle because if my cuts go off just a little bit, that error becomes compounded over multiple cuts. So I have to be very careful to make sure I'm making straight cuts here. I looked online and the cost of some of these fireplace surrounds with this type of style were going upwards of $1,000. And I figured if I could build it with a $50 sheet of plywood, I'd be doing pretty good. If you're gonna be doing any type of angled cuts on your table saw, I highly recommend you buy one of these little angle finders with a magnet in them. And by setting your angle a little bit higher than what you want, say 45.5, that gives your miter a much tighter joint, and it also leaves a little bit of room for the glue. That was a total of 6 different angled cuts. Here's an example of where I just did a 45 miter, and I've gotten pretty good at just doing that, so I felt like I could tackle this new project. So that's kind of the final design layout right there. This is what the miters look like when they're laid out. So Spencer with Inside Carpentry, his channel, he's not a hobbyist, he's an actual professional trim carpenter who does this stuff for a living, and he recommends this HD Clear duck brand. You run them this way first, and then you come back and hit your seam this way. I'm going to use these little spacing blocks to help tack it together with some pin nails. Let's see what we got. I always like to keep my mistakes in these videos as a way to
show people what not to do sometimes, including myself. And here's an example of something you should never do.
Smart. There you have it. Man, that second one went together way better. It's looking crispy. Somebody got mad at my last video when I said that, crispy. They're like, don't say crispy. But this right here, this is that Krispy Kreme. This is that Rice Krispie. So I think the thing that I did on this one, on the last one that worked better, was I really made sure my tape was stuck good on the seams so that no glue was just pouring through. The tape will stretch a little bit, and that gives you a little bit of leeway.
I was really debating whether I should tackle these, but I'm glad I did because the end result really turned out nice. All right, let's do some drywall.
It was nice to go from something that was requiring a bunch of brain power with those miters to something that doesn't really require any thinking. No offense to all the drywall guys out there. I added an extra 2x4 to mount my drawer slides too.
I built a third drawer box because I had the wood and because why not?
Boom. Time for a little break.
This is the first time I've ever used this plastic corner bead, and this stuff is nice.
When it dries, I'll go to light sand and then come back with the second coat. So for this bottom face, I think what I'm gonna do is just take a piece of 3/4 inch, either plywood or solid wood, make a face frame and drawer faces all out of one piece of wood. So I'm trying to figure out how I wanna tackle these plunge cuts. I can do it with the circular saw. That's gonna be a little bit sketchy. For these side pieces, I may be able to just hit them with the chop saw. All right, here we go, wish me luck.
I'm leaving this part in because it turned out to be a spectacular failure, and maybe someone will actually learn from my mistake. This is just one of those instances where I tried to save myself some money, but actually cost myself a lot of time.
All right, so change of plan. These are so wonky, I'm not gonna be able to square them up to make them look right in set. So I'm gonna create a shaker style out of this 1/4 inch material, and this will create a little bit of an overlay over the face frame, and then you won't notice any of the wonky cuts. So here's what we got. Something like this. This is not your typical builder cabinet show here. There you go, fake shaker. Faker shaker. All right, so to make sure these all line up like you're supposed to.
Whenever possible, I try to use as much scrap wood as I can on these projects. And for this one, I had a bunch of this 1/4 inch underlayment that I ripped off a wall from the last project, and I decided I'd try to get rid of most of it.
Oh, I think I glued it to the table. All right, so I screwed up. Face frame is just a little bit too big for the drawer slide, so I have to notch this a little more. This face frame is starting to be a real pain in the butt. All right, so what I ended up having to do is just notch out where the drawer slides come out. We have a problem, Houston. The drawer boxes do not fit into the face frame, so I may need to rip those down. That's the first thing. My next issue with the doors is they don't cover the holes that I cut out. Lordy, lordy. I ended up just piecing together a face frame, and I'll go back and fill it all in. It's gonna be painted anyway, so you're not gonna see any of this, but I think I like it better anyway with the inset drawer faces.
By this point in the day, I was pretty mentally exhausted. I decided to tackle something easy and work on the bench seat.
Oh, cut it backwards. I should have cut these off. That's how I know when it's time to take a break.
I ended up just using a piece of plywood, and I just scribed it to the fireplace.
So yesterday was kind of rough, I'm not gonna lie. The issue with the face frame, and then I screwed up the top. So it was a little bit of a rough day. That's kind of how these things go sometimes. Trying to rack my brain around doing all that while trying to make a video and sometimes it's overwhelming. I'm trying to show you exactly how it's going down because I'm not perfect. This thing is not perfect. I'm not a carpenter, I'm not a trim finisher, I'm not a drywaller. If you're enjoying the content, like and subscribe. That's all I'm gonna say. And let's move forward with this thing. Not have any snafus today, hopefully. All right, so now that I got the face frame lined up the way I want it, I'm gonna take it off and make it one piece with pocket holes. So I made sure to mark exactly where all my pieces are gonna go.
I used to just build my face frames piece by piece on the actual piece of furniture, but I recently started pre-building them, and you really do get such a better finish that way.
I'm clamping it both ways on here because these pocket holes love to shift when you try to run them in. I've got a little bit of overhang here. I might just run this whole edge through the chop saw once I got it all glued up. So I'll be using drywall mud for this instead of wood filler because I don't have wood filler and because this stuff is cheap and it's easy to sand. So, I mean, let me know in the comments if there's a reason I shouldn't be using this. The only thing I'm worried about now is my miter cut. I got to miter these corners, and that's the one issue I think I might have. We'll see.
Edge banding is one of those things that used to intimidate me, but it's really not that bad. And now my wife is always asking where the iron is.
I like to drill the holes for my hardware before I attach the doors.
I decided to leave all this section in so you could see a little bit of my build process. A lot of the times I'm just going off the cuff.
All right, good. Make sure all my reveals are somewhat the same. Screw it from the back side. So what I thought would take me half a day turned into almost a day and a half project, but you know, I really like the way it turned out. I'm glad I went with the inset look. Just gives it a little more upscale look. Let's get this top done.
Staining this cheap pine plywood is never a good idea, but I thought I'd at least give it a try.
The finish was decent, but I ended up just painting it anyway.
I want to thank High Summer for sending me out their new 52-inch fan. This thing's really nice, and it was super easy to install.
All right, see if it works. Oh, bright, I like it. Screwed in. Drive it.
That's under there.
You got this.
Do I?
Push it down from the back, real hard. Oh! All right, this is gonna be the nerve-wracking part, trying to make these miter cuts. So let's get it. I think I'm gonna make a few test cuts and just see if I can get all the way through in one pass before I make my final cuts. So my 45 on this saw was out by a little bit, maybe like 32nd of an inch. So I'm just getting this thing dialed in before I make these cuts because I want these cuts to be perfect. All right, here goes nothing.
So I made these oversized initially because I knew I was going to screw something up, and of course I did.
Hey, I cut it backwards. I should have cut the miter this way. It's all right, I'll just have to use this as one of the sides. So I'll have to flatten this, and then I'm an idiot. If I didn't have a 12-inch sliding saw like that, I don't think I could have actually built this thing, because I don't know how I would have made that cut. It would have been impossible with any other type of tool. It's all the collateral damage. So I screwed this bracket on here, and this is what's going to hold the main support up top. I wanted to leave about an inch reveal on the side here. That is amazing. So my miters aren't perfect, but with a little bit of tweaking, I'm gonna pre-build this whole thing, screw it all together, and fill all these holes. And I think once it's all done, it's gonna look pretty good. And so I think what I've decided too is I'm gonna have this top piece just kind of overhang it a little bit, kind of like that. So what I'm gonna do is put a few screws and then underneath in these corners. Ooh, I pulled it in tight, nice and tight. I finally invested in one of these plywood holders. Best $13 I ever spent. So the top of the fireplace, I'm just gonna cut out of a sheet of plywood, edge band the sides, and paint it. So now I'm gonna build my frame for the chimney. So I kind of marked out how I want this thing to go. I wanted to leave a shelf for putting stuff on and leave a little bit of edging on the side here. All right, so I've got it framed. For the chimney part, I'm gonna be using this. I'm gonna match the wall over here with this pre-primed nickel gap vertical shiplap. And the stuff is really nice for the money. It's like 36 bucks for a 4x8 sheet. So I should be able to do this whole thing with just one sheet. First thunderstorm of the season. Put paint on my junction box so that I could locate where I need to make my cut. Screw up number 121. I forgot to pull my wire through, so now I gotta pull it off and redo it. Gave myself an access door. What else I found back here? So I wired an outlet here, which connects to the switch so that when I have the floating shelves, I can do like LEDs or do like a light or whatever, lamp. And then I wired that guy. Painted this around black, gives it a little more depth. One
When I screwed the top down, it pushed these down a little bit, and now I'm having trouble getting the seat part in. So for these corners, I've got this plastic corner bead. That corner looking good. I got all this like 1/4 inch underlayment. I'm gonna cut it down and use it for little trim pieces. The junction box is kind of sticking out on this light, so I'm gonna cover it up with some 3/4 inch. And then I'm gonna run my underlayment pieces along the edges. Pocket holes. Now it's on to caulk and primer. First bead is always the hardest. And as the ancient Greek philosopher Riobacles Milwaukee once said, caulk and paint shall make the carpenter what he ain't. So the primer I like using is, you can't really see it, but it's the Zinsser 123. I'll do a coat of that, sand it down. Cheesecloth. The one thing I do not cut corners on is paint. Get you some good paint. This Sherwin Williams Pro Classic is great for painting cabinets. We'll see how agreeable it is. What do you think? Looks good? Yeah. All right. I hooked up one of these smart dimmers, and it works with Alexa. Alexa, turn lights on.
Okay.
I love the way this turned out, but I feel like it's just missing something, you know? Hold on. I swear this is the last time I'm doing this. And that brings us to this week's sponsor, Vinci Art.
Vinci Art offers 100% handcrafted wall art. Each painting is hand painted by their artists using high quality professional oil and acrylic paints on high quality linen canvas. Each piece can be personally customized to fit the size and the style of your home, with many different frame options. They offer fast and free delivery. Once the painting's finished, it'll arrive at your doorstep in 3 to 7 days. They'll send you a picture of the finished product to make sure you're 100% pleased with it first. It comes with everything you need to mount your new painting. They offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you receive your painting and you're not satisfied, you can return the eligible item within 30 days for a full refund. I really like their dark and moody texture pieces, but my wife chose this one and I think she did a great job. It really adds a calmness and relaxation to the room now. And for a limited time, use the promo code DAVID and get 40% off your painting.
All right, so for these cabinets, I'm gonna do something different this time that I've never done before. I'm gonna go with just a Euro look with no face frame, edge band the cabinet, and I'm gonna do inset doors. So I'm attempting to use all the scrap I got left here. I'm trying to keep this project to 4 sheets of plywood. So I've got all my pieces here. This is the most tedious part, ripping everything down to the size I need. This, you have it, simple base cabinet. All right, so I'm gonna be building the doors today. I'm gonna be using this 3-inch just select pine, only because it's S4S finish on all sides. I don't have a planer or anything like that, so I can't really mill my own wood for these types of things. So I'm still confined to buying big box stuff like this. Another thing I'm excited about is I bought a new tool. Yeah. So I've always had a kind of a rule when I do these projects where I'll buy a new tool with the money that I saved by doing it myself. So for this project, I bought myself a router table, but I've been wanting one for a while for doing doors and things like that. I bought some mortise and tenon router bits so I can do the doors a lot easier. I've done doors in the past on my table saw, and it's just not really a fun experience that way. There's a lot more steps involved and they never really come out quite right. So I'm excited about having the ability to make these doors faster and more accurately. This is the first time I'm doing this, so we'll see how it goes. You guys are gonna be learning this with me. Let's get it. All right, here it is. Been sitting here collecting dust. I haven't used it yet. It's a little intimidating.
The math on trying to do doors like this is a little bit of a brain teaser.
See if it goes together. 18 1/8, perfect. So I've built doors before like this, just shaker style doors using my table saw, and it more or less took me all day. Using the router table with my new sled setup. First time I've used the sled too as well. I banged all those doors out, 4 doors, in maybe an hour. It's crazy when you have the right setup how much more efficient you can be. Now let's cut some plywood. Hey.
Hey, do you want me to marinate the pork or chicken thighs with mojo?
We'll just do chicken tonight, I guess.
I just was asking what was easiest.
The chicken's easier.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
All right. There we go. Now we're getting the squeeze out. That's a pretty door right there, baby.
Craig makes some really great jigs for beginners.
So this is the most expensive piece of plywood I've ever bought at $90. I don't want to have to buy any more wood for this project, so my plan here is to create the 2 tops of the cabinets, and I'll be able to get 2 floating shelves out of this as well. So that was the first time I've ever done a full miter all the way around. There was a void in the plywood and it just ripped the laminate. But otherwise, I mean, the miters came out nice. It's just a bummer you pay almost $100 for plywood and you get stuff like that. So these I'm gonna be gluing them up the same way I did the fireplace surround. I'm gonna try and go a lot easier on the glue this time. I'm taking the tape off now because since this is gonna be stained, I don't want the glue to sit there. I'm gonna try and wipe as much of it off as I can. First time I've ever done this double miter fold corners like this. Come through and just burnish this edge. Makes it look like one piece.
So I've had a few people comment on my videos now, telling me to try more expensive wood. And I'm glad I finally took the plunge. This oak did split a little bit, but when it came to staining it, man, this stuff was super nice. I started with like a driftwood stain, almost like a pre-stain. And then I came back with a dark walnut. I just glued some 2x4s together as a mount for the shelves. And don't forget to pet your wood. I decided to paint the fireplace seat the same color as the accent wall because the pine wood just couldn't compete with this oak. It looks so good.
Birds are going crazy right now. So my wife's a bit of a pragmatic person. She was more interested in the functionality and storage solutions of this project. So I'm gonna take that corner, I'm gonna build her a big storage cabinet.
I'm building my toe kicks out of 2x4s, and then it'll be covered with a piece of trim. And sometimes you just need a hammer and nail, you know what I mean?
Oh, this is by far the biggest cabinet I've ever built. Watch the fan. Hope my measurements are right.
So I battled with this thing for a while, and then finally just gave in and moved the other cabinet.
It's tight. It's real tight. Wow. Like a glove.
Because my gaps were a little tight on my 1/4-inch plywood, I had a really hard time with these bigger doors trying to get it to fit in the slot. I fought with them for a while, and then finally I just routed a bigger groove. With all this weird sized plywood, I really couldn't find a router bit that would work. For anyone watching that actually knows what they're doing, leave me a comment and let me know what's a better technique to try and build these doors a little easier and better.
Man, building these doors was a total nightmare. And I'm glad I'm done.
I've sprayed cabinets and doors in the past, but it's kind of a pain in the butt. And honestly, I can get a really nice finish with just a foam roller, as long as I'm using good paint.
Don't hit. All right, well, it's close enough.
These cheap Amazon door hinges are actually really good for the money, and they let you make these little micro adjustments. So my next project in this master bedroom makeover is going to be our bed and nightstands. I plan on incorporating this oak stain because I absolutely love the way this turned out. So check back, I've got some other cool projects planned too. When doing projects like this, it's always nice to have the right tool for the job. This pull jig was super cheap and very effective. And for the coup de grace, I'm adding this LED light strip to really set the mood, because I like a little cyberpunk with my traditional furniture. I thought what I was trying to create was an escape from my kids, but the reality is I created a place for us to gather, because one day, far too soon, this will all just be a memory. So Skibbity, thanks for watching, and keep on building.